Show me your heart. I know that it's beating. Tell me that you love me too. So I know your heart is true. 'Cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love. Do you like cryptocurrency, politics, economics, activism, or art? Then check out the Tatiana Show, where you can learn all about it in a fun and non-intimidating way, as if you're just hanging with friends. Go to thetatianashow.com and listen now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Proof of Love. Listen to my voice. You are getting very sleepy. You are falling into a deep trance. Did that work for anybody? Because it didn't quite do it for me. But we're going to learn how to hypnotize ourselves, what is hypnosis, and some different therapy techniques that utilize hypnosis with Amy. But before I bring her on the show, I just wanted to say hi. We don't have Stephanie with us today, unfortunately, but we do have the beautiful Lauren Kasovitz, who is opting out of video today, which is an option. We are trying to do more video at Proof of Love, but I think that not everybody always wants to put on makeup, so I'm not torturing any of our guests, although, Amy, you're kind to join us today with video. And Lauren, well, you're just a little bit lazy, but I still love you. So welcome to the show, everybody. How's it going?
Welcome. Yeah,
Great.
Next time I'll definitely be on video, I promise, with my new quarren chop.
Oh, that's wonderful. You probably needed to style it. Can you bring your new kittens on camera next time, too?
Yes, 100%.
Because, you know, I heard cat videos do really well on YouTube, so...
Oh, yeah, we're going to...
We could just bring them in. Cool. Okay, so let's dive right in. We've got Amy, and Amy has been doing... Amy, I mean, how would you describe your work and your training? Because I met you through Doug Scribner, and we were at Tone Vase's Unconfiscatable event. We had an amazing dinner. It was really fun. You really brought a lot to the table, actually. And so I was thinking during the conversation, this would be a great episode for Proof of Love. So for people who are not familiar with your work, I'd love it if you could give us a little breakdown.
Sure. I am a marriage family therapist, but my main practice is regression hypnotherapy. It's more on the holistic end. Talk therapy is fine, but it doesn't get very deep because a person has to be present and really in their body in order to really have life, long-term effects. And for, I don't see people, for 5 years coming once a week is what I'm trying to say. We get our results, and so I work really energetically, interdimensionally, because we're multi-dimensional people. So I use flower essences, some herbs, patent formula remedies, essential oils, tuning forks. I work with animals.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, all those things I understand, but what does an animal have to do with hypnosis?
So in some of what I do is equine psychotherapy. So
no.
Yeah.
For horses that are sad?
Well,
I'd be sad too if I had to serve, and arrest people and stuff. I'd be like, let me roam free.
No, actually, part of my certification is for the horse, but actually I'm working with a person with the horse. The horse is like the mirror. So more of what I do, even though I was an acupuncturist as well, but more of what I do is energetic. Homeopathy is like mirroring someone's energy. So as you mirror someone's energy, that human, animal, or plant, the symptoms in that human, animal, or plant go away simply because unconsciously and subconsciously it feels supported. And consciously,
okay.
So it's really deep level work, very different than what I would do sometimes with couples is more talk therapy, psychotherapy, counseling, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Amy,
but you think this is the fastest way to kind of get into people?
I know it is, only because of 23 years of doing this. When people say, well, I'll be seeing you for the rest of my life. And I said, no, you won't, simply because there's nothing that's too long. You know, you need to get your results and live in the experiential world of life, experiencing the new you know. So
I have a question for you, Amy,
Yeah.
because I always found it so interesting. So my mom teaches kids on the autism spectrum,
Oh, yeah.
and they have worked a lot with horses and with cats.
Yep.
And they found that those two particular animals are really effective with children on the spectrum. I don't know if it's because they're maybe quieter animals, they have a sense of intelligence about them, but these kids find them so soothing, often even more than any other kind of therapy.
True. They are soothing. Cats as an energy, as an animal, their place is really multidimensional in how they work. They literally travel in between dimensional timelines, okay? So when you're working with somebody who has autism or on the spectrum, they also work on multiple timeline dimensional shifts. Hard to, I know you don't normally say that to people, but that's why cats work so well with them. Horses, on the other hand, are so grounded and so solid that anybody who has any anxiety or whatever, the horse will just mirror it right back. So again, they're soothing also. But, and horses again are all about relationships with yourself and with others, second chakra stuff. So that makes sense why horses and cats work so well with the autism spectrum kids. Where dogs, not as good.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I love dogs too, obviously.
Yeah, me too.
But I can see it in terms of therapy. Yeah. I mean, so how do you actually do this equine therapy with people? How does it work?
Or not just equine, because
Yeah,
maybe regular, both.
Yeah.
I don't have a horse, and, you know, I just was thinking I could maybe take some tips from this one.
So generally what happens is sometimes they'll have you go, I might have someone go out in a field and there's many horses. And if a horse, depending upon the energy of a human or kid, right, a horse may either walk away from you or come up to you. So what happens is if the horse comes up to you, especially a horse that generally doesn't, you're probably in a good space with yourself, okay? And if a horse runs away from you, because I've seen this happen when a kid or an adult comes in and the horses go, and they're like running away, you know, and you just go, oh. Mm-hmm. That tells you a lot about what it is that you're holding on to, what it is. It's, you know, it could be control, it could be anger, it could be fear, it could be tenseness. So that's a very instant thing that people can recognize. However, most people don't recognize it. So I would say, so what do you think is happening right now? You know, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? Well, that horse doesn't like me, or, you know, something like that, or I don't like that horse. And again, that mirror back is like, is it because the horse doesn't like you that you don't like the horse, or is it because you want this horse to like you and you're angry because it's not?
Is there a way of talking about it with them? Because not for nothing, like, screw the horse's stinky opinion. What does he know? Right? Like, maybe you're cool anyway, but do you think it's just a way of people that they can talk about it more easily when there's an animal instead of applying feelings to people?
Yes, because it's that physical. It's a physical species that isn't human. Yes, absolutely, and that's perfectly said. But it is very interesting because even when you have people brush a horse, you know, or even pet a cat, there's so much that you can tell about them. And what it is that mirrors that back because it's like being in a relationship, right? You're always being challenged because you always have that other person to mirror back or sponge or project. Whether you like it or not, whether it's a kid, same thing, or a pet. Because we're all in relationship on some level with something or someone. So it is that physical thing that it goes, oh, okay.
Well, do you find that people are coming, I'm sure you have a wide range of different patients and clients. Do you feel like people are coming to you predominantly to heal themselves, or are they initially coming to kind of heal something that's going on within a relationship? Because I'm wondering if maybe there's something going on within a couple or a parent-child dynamic and they want to work through that. Do they necessarily realize that they really have to work on themselves first?
You are, that's a very good question. They don't. 99% of the time is the child or the spouse or the boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever animal has the issue. Indirectly, I have to work with them first, whether they know that or not, and whether they're open to understanding that or not. That gets a little tricky, especially when I'm making a flower essence for a cat or a dog, and I'm seeing either by video or in person the human with their animal. And that gets a little tricky.
Yeah,
imagine. So yeah, that's so very valid question, but no, most people think it's the other person, or it's, he or she is the problem.
Yeah.
What if there is another person that's the problem? You know what I mean? Like, what if you get somebody who's like an abuse victim, right? Like, Yep. I can appreciate that they have to change the way that they look at it, right? Because that's the element that you can control. But do you find that there's some pushback around that? I would think that's pretty common in all kinds of therapy. And maybe you could talk a little bit about this regression therapy, because that sounds a little bit different than just the regular thing. Like, are you talking to my past lives? Not mine, but somebody else's,
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. So the first part is, yes, there's always a pushback. I have a couple that I've been doing video therapy with because they don't live in my state, and they prefer video anyway, even before the COVID-19. And one, she has 3 alters, which is a dissociative identity disorder. And he finally figured this out, okay? Husband finally figures this out because she has 3 boyfriends. Okay, and
wait.
Oh,
what is going on with this?
Wait, Amy, did she know that she had these alters? Was she dissociated before? Oh my God! Wow. Tell us about that.
Well, so what happened? I'm dying to know.
So it's so bizarre. I asked if it was okay that they said, oh, of course. So what had happened was there were gifts that were being sent to their house from other men, okay? And she would open up and go, what's this? And her husband finally figured out this. They've been married for 3 years. Husband finally figured out.
Holy smokes, that's bananas.
So took all the phones away, okay? All the laptops and stuff, because as her other 3 names or other altered names, she was communicating with all these other men, right? And so
Wait, using the same phone, or did she have 3 different phone lines?
No, she had the same phone. That's why he finally figured all this stuff out, right? So he takes her in, and she goes, well, I don't remember any of this. And I mean, so we had to do.
He must have thought that she was just lying, and she was.
Wow.
Holy, how devastating that is! How did you find out? Maybe she's tricking you. She's like, oh yeah, I got multiple boyfriends. You got to keep paying my bills. How does this work?
Yeah, Amy, that's what I was telling Tatiana. Since I've been a kid, I read a book ages ago. I've been fascinated with DID, and not fascinated in a train wreck kind of way. Like I find it really, really fascinating, especially with these, like usually the host doesn't know most of the time, right? That they have these other alters. Did she come to you as the host? Was she another alter? Like, how did you figure that out?
What were the others like too? I mean, were they a little bit slutty? Were they foul mouthed? Like, how did that work? That's what I imagine.
So, okay, you're so funny because it's totally true. So what happened was husband contacts me and he's just completely out of his mind. So I go, oh, oh my God, you must be crazy, you poor guy, right? So I'm listening to him and he goes, look, he goes, I've been to so many other people. They don't know what to do. They want to give her medication. It's not working because she's taken the medication. That doesn't work because she won't take it. Then she reacts even more strange. I said, okay, well, they traveled like 2 hours to get to me. So I said, okay, fine. Let's come on in. And I got to tell you, he was like this, you know, and she was, I've never seen someone had so much dark energy, where to the point where her eyes were almost, every time I would look, I'd see a huge blackness. And it's really weird, and unless you do this kind of work, you can kind of see it. But I looked at it and I go, oh my God. Okay, so it was so bizarre because I said, well, I know what we have going on here, and I think we can do something with that, but it's going to take some other work besides that. And, you know, I don't know how committed she will be. And he goes, she has to be committed because I'm ready to, the papers are almost all signed because I don't believe her and blah, blah, blah. So, okay. So he tapes and videotapes, and I agreed. He videotaped and had audio tape every session that we've done, because he wanted to make sure she wasn't lying, and he wanted to make sure that she was, you know, getting help. Okay, so first session, I remember, this is so wild. So he is in his truck, and she's inside with me, and he's, you know, got it all set up, and we had to deal with, first of all, her feeling safe in the womb. Okay, we did some womb work, you know, in her mother's womb and all that stuff. And then we had to deal with the altars and what their purpose was, why were they there, and all this other stuff. So it was very, very fascinating. So we got them to work together. So 2 of them left. One of them left for good. 2 of them stayed in the background. The client host with physical body was able to be more in control. He heard it and saw it. He still had a hard time believing it. It was really weird. It took a lot of energy out of me. I actually sweated quite a bit when I was doing this, because it's really hard work. You have to be very focused. You have to be able to see a lot of different things. So it was a 2-hour session. Actually, it was 2.5-hour session, and it was a lot of work. But with that, now I've been working with them once a week and doing more, you know, cognitive structural stuff. We finally got the last one to leave 1 month ago, and it was
To
really
leave,
tough.
do you say, listen, personality, beat it, you're not needed here anymore? Or do you say it in a kind way because it's their inner child? Like, how does that
I had a question
work?
about that too, because I had just watched a docuseries about a woman who I had heard that with DID, it can go in 2 different directions with therapy, where either you ask the alters to leave or they decide to work together as like a functioning unit. How do you make that decision on what's best for the patient? I just find it's so fascinating, and it must be such a scary kind of decision for you as a therapist to have to make, like, okay, are we having the alters leave, or are we having them be like, I think they call it a unit or something like that?
True. So what happened is I kind of think about this before my sessions with them. But I knew at one point that it was so there's personality constructs which are developed literally from the womb on up. We all have them, and personality constructs are actually fragments and parts of a personality that maybe we needed some more support with. Okay, so we kind of developed that. Now then there's the altars, okay, which are, now again, I have a different belief system than your trained psychologist or trained just psychotherapist, because I see energy and I work with energy. So I call them entities, because if you think about it, we're mostly made up of water. Okay, so what happens is an entity that doesn't leave the earth plane after a shock or a death, okay, is walking over the earth plane. You'd be surprised at how many there are. And so what happens is a person like that, who was sexually and physically abused as a little girl and beaten and all sorts of stuff, becomes empty. Okay, that's kind of how, sometimes that's a lot of how dissociative identity kind of comes. Okay, so what happens is her physical entity was empty, her earth body. So, and she was empty in her mind as well, intellectually, mentally, cognitively. So what happens is these entities that kind of walk around, they're all around actually. What happens is they can hook on. And in her, and how I could see that is her one main altar, the main one that was more controlling, was blonde and tall.
Wow.
Where this lady was Filipino,
Wow.
very short and dark skinned and black hair.
Wow.
Wow. It's so
Oh my God, I want to read her cell phone so bad. I want to read all of her messages to these men, because I wonder, was in one of them she really liked it rough, and then the other one she was like wanted it all sweet, you know?
And probably totally different.
God, that poor man must love her so much. She's so lucky that she has him. That's so sad.
I know. I agree. I mean, did you know, was she describing these men as totally different? Like probably physically, like they were probably or however many completely different kinds of guys.
Yes. So the main altar was saying to the husband that, he's no fun and we never get to have any fun. He's da-da-da-da-da, where she, he's a bigger guy and she wanted a more GQ kind of a guy. And so she would go for those kinds of men.
The blonde one would. You don't trust those
so
blonde
bizarre.
hussies.
We're the
troublemakers. This is such a funny conversation. Okay, so tell us more. And were the other guys pissed? I mean, they could have literally killed each other. The men, all angry, not even knowing.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was insane.
Where was her family? Why didn't anybody I mean, she must have had something rough happen to her, but why wouldn't somebody else have noticed? Like, why is she married for 3 years before somebody figures out there's 3 of her in her head?
Exactly. I was thinking that, friend.
How old could she have been? I mean,
so what happened was, and I finally figured this out, because it kind of took me a while, because I kept thinking, well, kept questioning myself. I finally figured out is that the blonde woman, I mean, the entity of her, they all have different names too, which is very interesting, was really the main one, okay? And she was so defiant and manipulative, and she even tried to manipulate me, that's what they do.
Wait, you can manipulate your inner selves?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what? So she's talking to, like, the little Filipino one, we'll call her Susie, and then, like, Margaret's like, listen, Susie, you better shut up and get in the back. Like, that happens? I need to see some movies. Now I know what I want to do this weekend.
I have lists for you.
Oh, please. Please send them to me. This sounds like a wild ride. It'll take me out of the insanity that is the world right now.
Well, Amy, was the main person, this, small Filipina lady, was she open? Like, did she have any idea at all?
So how I knew that it was it was not a personality construct, and how I knew it was an entity is because her level of ability to switch when I use the name in the hypnosis session, and her ability to change the way she looked. I kid you not when I say this to you, because I know this is very hard to believe, but some of her facial coloring changed, obviously her moods and her voice changed, and all this other stuff changed, where I remember looking at this and going, I'm so glad husband is videotaping this so he actually can see that this is real and I'm not making this up, you know?
Wow.
And that's how I knew that it was not a personality construct, but an actual entity. Because there's fast, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm so curious about the whole like hypnosis part of it, because obviously from what I've heard, that's pretty much one of the only ways really to get at it, right? Like to really get to the crux of things. How many sessions does it depend? I have so many questions. How many sessions does it usually take with somebody who is at this extreme level with DID to heal?
So my first understanding of this, because I didn't know what to expect, I only knew from a husband's perspective. But when I saw them and I saw he's had some weird stuff too, not that, but abuse. So that's why he could stay with someone like that. Okay. But I estimated, I said, we're going to work really hard and let's try to do let's get this done in 6 sessions, and then you guys be on your own for a while and experience what it feels like to, kind of be more whole, and then let's do some more later on. But I need her to assimilate this and recalibrate this into her cells and her physical body. And he looked at me, he goes, Amy, I think you're joking, right? This is going to take a hell of a lot longer than that. And I was hoping, that it would take that amount. And then the more I got into it, the more I go, oh my God, there's just so much abuse here from her origin of family, her, where she was nucleus family, where she was, born and stuff. That we had to go layer off a layer off a layer off of that stuff. Then we could get to the other stuff over here. So I was kind of like I was an investigator, so to speak,
Yeah.
Right, but wasn't she scared? I mean, when she came in, if someone told me, hey, by the way, you've got a couple extra entities hanging onto your soul, no biggie, we'll wipe them out in a couple sessions, babe. How do you even tell somebody that? That's horrible news. Jesus Christ.
I don't tell anybody that. And the reason why I don't is because what happens is I say, there's some other things going on with you. You will understand this more in session. I had to do 2 again today that people didn't know, but they look and feel different. It's kind of like soul retrieval work in another way to say this, but this is much even deeper than that. So I didn't say anything. We dealt with it in session so she could understand it more, and it was her realizing what was happening. After the session, she said, she goes, wow, what was that? And I just said, it was just, we call it an attachment. Sometimes happens because people freak out. So I like to kind of get really,
like you're gentle.
Yeah.
So it was, so I just kind of say it that way. Like even today I had to say it. I said, she goes, what was that? I said, something just attaches sometimes and it's gone, and you just got to, stay in your body and be present and be clear with yourself and occupy your body, be in your body. Don't be in the fear piece.
That seems so amorphic. Even before, I sometimes have I'm like woo curious. That's what I call myself. But I think that some of this stuff is so amorphic. You say, oh, their energy work. How are you even getting people to believe in this? Because I think that to a certain extent, like, you have to be kind of committed, like, ready to go on that journey and, like, believe. But I mean, I don't know, if somebody said that to me, I'm not sure that I could really, like, believe in that, because it's so untangible. So what do you do when you run into people like that? Does that make the person unable to be treated?
No. So what happens is, generally somebody's coming in for a physical manifestation, usually that's stopping them from moving forward in their life, right? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever it might be. And pretty much I can kind of tell what's going on. So I take them through the process. I'd like to get at it now, but a lot of people, like you said, aren't ready. So to go through the process, and we do a lot of clearing out, old belief systems and old patterns.
And wait, are those like chants, or are those actual conversations? You know what I mean? Because I went to this energy lady and she did, everybody get out of here, blah, 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 like some weird thing, So how does that work?
So I never, ever say that. So somebody comes in to me and we might talk through some things, and then we'll do the hypnosis session. Because here's the thing. When you're going from the outside in, energy worker or not, like, you want someone to do it for you, right? Which, who doesn't? But the only way that it can be really done is by you going inside of yourself, from the inside out, because you get to feel it, you see it, you might smell it, you'll hear it, and you go, oh, wow, okay. There's no lie here. It came directly from my voice. I feel it. I see it. Okay. Done. That's how it works. That's why if you're going to someone and they say, leave the room, they're already setting up something that may not be so true, and you don't need to scare people that way. But when a person really does their work from the inside out, they'll go, oh, yeah, that was powerful. Okay. Then you're empowering them to know that they have control from the inside out, that they have their own power, that it literally comes from the inside out. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just telling Tatiana, I have a question about being hypnotized and using hypnosis, because I've actually never done it before, but I've heard that it works wonders even if people are going not for a traditional therapy session, but maybe to quit smoking or for weight loss or things like that. But I've also heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, that not everybody is able to go under hypnosis, that you have to be, is it not true? What do you think? How does that work? Because I'd love, I've been battling on and off and a vape addiction to electronic cigarettes. And I quit smoking. I haven't touched an actual cigarette in 15 years, but how do I quit this? It's so hard. So I've thought about hypnosis before. What do you think about that for kind of bad habits?
That's how I quit. I did a combo of the Alan Carr Easy Way to Quit Smoking book, and then I've done hypnosis. And so I've used it to sort of quit things. And in my experience, it kind of works for a little while and then it kind of wears off. So as a follow-up to Lauren's question.
Hypnosis is, the long version of hypnosis is the hyper ability of focused attention, okay? That's the very short, quick version, okay? But hypnosis really is about challenging our old belief systems that aren't true. We call them mistaken beliefs that maybe we've been passed down from generation to generation, okay? From mother, father, or sibling, or whatever else, teacher, whatever else. So what happens is, hypnosis is really this. If you've ever cried, if you've ever laughed, if you've ever had anger, frustration, panic, fear, worry, love, joy, hate, all those things. Those are all states of hypnosis, and the reason for that is we call those self-induced trance states. What that means is that you created them somehow. So when you're watching a movie and you cried, right? You're in that present state of emotion. The limbic system. The limbic system is from here to here, okay? That is your seat of all of your emotions, okay? That is why that never leaves in dementia or Alzheimer's. I can't even say that right. But that always stays. The frontal lobe, is something that has not a lot of information. It doesn't do a lot, okay? It can bypass when we're in talk therapy session or we're listening to something and we might go, oh, yeah, okay. Or we're talking to someone and we might lie or whatever. It's because it doesn't hold that much information. It leaves. But hypnosis is really working with our emotions right here. That's why everybody's in it thousands of times a day, whether they like it or not. It's because it's the natural state of how your brain works. Your brain works in nanoseconds of chromosomes literally going back and forth. So that's really how it works. Everybody can be in hypnosis.
So then why did it stop working on me? Like, why did I end up eating cookies again? It was sad. Very sad results there. Wasn't intended.
Because what happens is people can do the self-trance states for so long. Maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, maybe 3 months, maybe 5 months. But what happens is they got to a layer, but it was maybe 1 or 2 layers that they got to. But it wasn't the core of the apple. That is what the creation of the symptoms in the first place. But they got deep enough to subside it for a little bit of time. So
okay.
that's why that happens quite a bit.
So if I wanted to, not from gosh, we have so many things to talk about in this thing.
I know.
All right, yeah, really. Okay, so really quick, practically, if I wanted to build better habits through hypnosis, is that something that somebody can do on their own? Or do you think that they need a guide? Or do you think that they need to go even more hardcore? Because it seems like you're trying to get at the root versus me just saying like, oh, I love vegetables, whatever it is that I'm trying to do there. So how would a regular old person that maybe doesn't have any splitsies inside, how do they take advantage of this?
So generally, that's anywhere from 3 to 6 sessions, right? Spaced out about a week to sometimes 2 weeks apart. Depends how well they do. And it's a very deep therapy. But what we're generally doing with a more balanced person, you know what I mean, a person who might just have a slight addiction or a slight habit or whatever, is we're going very deep because at some core level, there's an inability, I hate to say this, to have a sense of worth and a sense of love for themselves. Because generally, habits and addictions are a distraction from the emotional cause underneath it, what's creating that in the first place. So if you can get at that emotion, okay, that's creating that, the symptoms evaporate. Very easy to do, because I'm not having to do all this with some of my lately a lot of clients.
Wow, that's wild. Go ahead, Laura.
I have another question. A few years back, I kind of stumbled on YouTube onto all of the frequency videos and the videos that use, the 400 Hz and to soothe anxiety, to soothe, insomnia. And I found them really, really useful. And I'm wondering, are those great for the long term? Are those things that we should be using in a short term basis if they work for us? I use them for anxiety and insomnia predominantly, but I went down the deep end with those. I was listening to the subliminal message ones and I love them. Do you feel like those really work? I mean, I personally love them.
I I'll tell you what, I think that they work for a time.
Yes.
I think they're very valuable. If it's not that serious and you're playing around with it because it makes you feel good. And I think they work for a time. Do I think that they're permanent work? No, they don't have the capacity, only because you're dealing with belief systems, not frequencies.
Yeah.
As much as I love frequencies because I do them myself, they're more of a support, a self-help, a nurturing, and I like them, but you're not working with belief systems.
Yeah.
And that really comes from the inside out of a person, you know?
No, that makes sense. So they're kind of like a little kind of subtle companion piece. If somebody's feeling anxiety, they can just flip on a video and, meditate or just listen to the frequency and let it kind of calm them down in that moment. Interesting. You have like such an extensive background in so many different modalities. And I'm just wondering how you kind of came to hypnosis as the biggie. Like, how was that, the trademark for you?
So interesting enough, as a young girl, I was training in gymnastics. And so I was a junior Olympic national champion gymnast too. So as a gymnast, we used hypnosis, self-hypnosis techniques, right? And all sorts of really kind of cool things. So at that point, as kind of tough as I am on myself, and understand how the mind-body works, I realized that there's so much more that can be done with how our brain works and how our body works and the connection. And so I, went into massage and other healing modalities and became an acupuncturist. And, I was doing some physical therapy work with other people and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just kept evolving and kept thinking, there's a better way here. We're making people weak, and I don't think this is a good idea to do this. I think we want to empower people, just as a society, to become better, to become more humane, to become smarter, to be able to be more efficient with ourselves and our time and our energy and how we live in our bodies and in the world. So it kind of just worked with that plan. I kept kind of doing this and learning this and doing this. And finally I just go, okay, you know what? This is what needs to be done. And as I was doing, this is so weird, as I was doing a talk, God, I was so nervous to do this talk. I was doing for the Mayo Clinic, and there's 50 doctors and 25 nurses. And I cannot believe that I didn't realize this after. But I did this talk about hypnosis in the mind and the body and how, you guys can use it for, your patients and clients, whatever you want to call them. And after the talk, it was so bizarre. I had 3 nurses come up to me and they said, "Where did you learn how to read people?" And I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Well, we've been taking classes on how to use our intuitive psychic gifts." I said, "What?" And she said, "Because I know that you're doing this because I saw you looking at people seeing things." And I go, "Oh, no, I wasn't." And then one of the nurses, she said, "I think you were born with it." And I looked at her and I said, and it was at that moment, I mean, seriously, I didn't figure this out until that moment where I said, I looked at her and I go, I can't believe this, but I never thought about this. I was reading energy because when I came into the world, my mom didn't know this. I couldn't hear, I couldn't smell, and I couldn't taste. So I was touching everything and I was using my eyes to read energy and read people.
Oh, wow.
And it was so weird because it was like, it was like a light bulb moment. And I said to myself, my God, that's why I'm so weird. That's why I don't fit in. And I couldn't figure it out. But at the age of 4, my mom finally figured out that there was something wrong because I didn't talk. I was a late talker, and they had to take my adenoids out, my tonsils out, and then I had so much distraction because I could hear and I could, smell and taste, and I was putting everything in my mouth. And so that's really, I think, how I came into what I'm doing now. But it didn't know that.
That's fascinating.
So interesting. This is such a good show. I'm like riveted. I have a question, but I want to change gears. Lauren, did you have a follow-up to that at all? Because I have another one.
No, if I think I know what you're about to talk about, I have a question there too.
Okay, so we didn't really talk about this that much, but past lives, right? What if you're Christian? What if you say, nope, going to heaven? Sorry, sister. Does everybody have a past life? And what do you, like, how would you deal with somebody who's like, no, I don't have a past life. Leave me alone. I mean, is that the end of the conversation, or how does that work?
So whether a person believes it or not, okay, it's literally part of how the soul literally moves on. So you can tell by other lifetimes, by what a person physically looks like, their coloring, what they like to dress, what they like to eat, what kind of things they like to do, watch TV, programs they're interested, or what careers they have been in, or what even places they want to travel, or people connections as well. So you can tell a lot about a person or yourself by all that, because the soul my clients have taught me a lot. I kind of came into this going, yeah, right. And it's like my clients would go, I go, oh, okay, I guess this is right. This is true because they're not going to lie. So interesting. So the soul literally, whether you believe it or not, and people don't have to believe it, the soul literally continues on. So I know for a fact I will not be coming back again in this lifetime. I will be going probably to another dimension, but I will never be coming back again. Ever.
What, as like a different person? Why do you think? Because you think you've just like attained enlightenment during this round?
Yes, there's so much that I have done healing work on myself. And there's so many, I've been a healer at least 9 different lifetimes. So that's why I know, because it's so deep, and even what I see, and I can't even explain it to people because it doesn't make sense. And I wouldn't want to freak them out because it's not worth it. But I do know that I know, and I've had to admit that to myself, and that's good,
Wait, but can you tell who's going to go on and who's not? Like, okay, I'm dying to know who I was in a past life, and am I going to ascend to the higher level? Like, can you tell that? And maybe someone will tell you to F off. What if you say, no, you're not going to? I'll be like, well, I'll show you, I mean, how does that whole thing play out?
So normally, I have had skeptics, of course. And so what I do is I say nothing, and I let them experience, whatever they want to experience. Or I might say, so do you like this particular food, or do you like this particular career because your dad was that, or your, aunt, whatever. And I might kind of guide them to see, oh, okay, well, I guess that makes sense that, again, sometimes we have learned behaviors, which means we unconsciously want to fit in and don't even know that we're doing it. Most people don't even know that they don't even know that they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. Okay. So so if I can lead a person down that line, they might be able to see it for themselves. Because it's never about me telling someone because it's really not even my business unless they're coming to me and giving me permission to help them. But most people are so unconsciously aware that it's hard. So I'm lucky in that I get to work with a higher level of functioning consciousness human being.
Well, I wanted to interject on the past lives really quickly because, as Tatiana knows, I'm super into all the woo-woo stuff, always have been. But past lives were always, that was just something that I couldn't wrap my head around. I'm like, I don't believe it. I think it's bullshit. And so then I went in to see a clairvoyant. This was a few years back, we had our session. And then afterwards, without me prompting, he said, I just keep picking up on stuff from your past lives. Can I tell you about it if you're open to it? And I was like, okay. And he told me 2 mind-blowing things that he would have, there's no way he could have ever known in a million years. He was like, so I see that maybe, 500 years ago, you were a very famous barrister for the Crown. He's like, you solved a huge case, but there's always been one case that you have in your past that you were never able to solve. He said, I'm going to bet that you are very into crime dramas, mysteries, solving crime, and that is like that. I mean, I am one of
Lauren's the worst. She's always talking about that stuff.
I am obsessed with that stuff, like mysteries, crime thrillers, figuring out who did it, like understanding the facts, all of it. And I just looked at him mind blown, and he's like, and I also want to tell you that you are very, very close with your nephew. I don't know if I ever told you this, Tatiana. I have 2 nephews now, but at the time I had 1, and he and I are like soulmates. The moment he came out of my sister's body, we're just very cosmically connected. I always knew it, didn't understand it. My sister didn't at the time let us post anything or any pictures online because she was very protective. He couldn't have looked me up and found that out. And he said, you're so connected. There's this special bond there. He's like, I just want to let you know that you shared 2 past lives together, one where he was your son and one where you were brother and sister. And I was like, oh my God, how? And he said, so if you're curious where that bond comes from on both of your ends, it's always going to be there. It's your past lives. You've journeyed together. It was so mind blowing. It was incredible. And I was a believer after that.
Wow. That's a crazy story. Amy looks like she's heard this kind of stuff before.
That is so cool. Yes. And so, it's funny because I've always known that they're parallel universes. I mean, parallel lifetimes that we've lived and other lifetimes, past lives too. I wasn't necessarily, I'm open to that, but what happens is, I just want to say this because I think this is important. What happens is there's sometimes people that want to come to me just for that. And I'll say, look, your problem isn't that. Your problem is this lifetime, dealing with who you are. So I just want to make that very clear. I do that. However, people have a very hard time getting through this lifetime and really being authentic and genuine and honest with their issues. If you want to do that stuff, which was very cool that you had that reading, I was just going to say, you could have probably figured that out on your own, Lauren.
Probably.
Yeah, just because when you have that connection with somebody, you go, probably a brother, sister, maybe even a husband, wife in another time, because I think we all have that capacity. It's whether or not we can get rid of some of our chaos in our own brain and really be open to ourselves and also be willing to kind of think outside of that box and go, I wonder why that connection is so strong. I wonder what's going on there. And hence he told you probably already felt it anyway. But that's very cool.
Yeah, it was just anecdotally, it was just really interesting. It was really
he's your little bud, that little boy. You've talked about him forever.
Yeah, my other little nephew too, but the older one, we just, we're like little soulmate.
Wait, so I have one more question because we've got to wrap up. But should we want to ascend to a different dimension, one might think that coming back to Earth is enjoyable. There are a lot of beautiful experiences in life, and it seems weird to want to rush toward a different dimension. Why do you feel that you are compelled in that direction, and do you think that everybody should be aiming toward that?
No. As a matter of fact, I have a physical body. You have a physical body, and this is the most powerful, most important place to be. Okay. The other dimensions, you have a spirit body, which means you're less than a bird. Okay. So that means you can make changes like this. Okay. Because you don't have the ability to have a body to lug around. You can't feel. You just can do this. Now, do I think that we're always evolving because of our soul is always evolving, and in order for humanity to keep being on this earth plane, okay, even though there's some purging going on right now from galactically and globally from our COVID-19, that's one thing, but we're constantly getting better. In year 2020, I knew this was going to happen. And how I knew this was going to happen, because frequency-wise, in order to step into the 21st century, we literally have to deal with all of our garbage, okay? That's our baggage. It's like, make sure your own backyard is clean and clear and you've dealt with all your crap, so to speak, because we're moving into a higher frequency of functioning in the world, meaning a higher level of consciousness, okay? So in order to get that, as you know, we have a fear pandemic right now, you know what I mean? But everybody's freaking out and all this stuff. I started seeing a lot of...
I hate this scared energy. It makes me so mad. I'm just sick of everybody being so afraid. It's infuriating, and that probably says something about me too, right?
No, because that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing beyond that fear. And a lot of people are stuck in it. So that's great. But no, the only reason why I know this about myself is just because I can feel it, I can see it, as far as I'm not coming back here because I worked so goddamn hard here from birth. That's why I know I'm not coming back. That's
just so interesting about your childhood, how you became more empathetic. Like, I do a lot of studying of, attachment theory, and I'm on the anxious side of the spectrum. And, growing up in an abusive household, you do have to be really sensitive. I'm not even talking about your sense of smell. Like, you need to read that room, and you need to know who's nuts in there, and when is mom going to get mad? When is dad going to get mad? How can you navigate that? It's weird because people don't also trust that instinct in themselves. So, I think we got to wrap, but we would love to have you back on soon and we could talk some more about this stuff. This is so fun. Amy, if people want to take your services, like, are you doing more of them right now? Where can people sign up? Thank you. So they can either go to my website at www.hypnoessence.com. They can call me 952, my office is 952-938-9085. I have to be better at updating my Facebook business page. I'm not. And LinkedIn, a lot of people contact me. I do some articles, but I don't have a lot of time, which would be cool to do all that stuff, but it's best just to probably contact my website or phone. Awesome. Well, we love this. This was really great. Thank you so much for checking out Proof of Love. If you guys are liking this episode, proofoflovecast.com is the website. We come out with a new show every Friday, except for one Friday this year, which we failed. But normally we do. And there's a ton of episodes because we've been running since Valentine's Day in 2019. So we've got, over 50 episodes now. And we'd love for you guys to listen, share the show. Thank you once again, Amy. You are an amazing guest. Lauren, love you, girl. Thank you. Stephanie, we miss you. And we'll see you all next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to Proof of Love.
Proof of Love has been brought to you by CryptoMediaHub.com, a boutique marketing and PR agency for Bitcoin and beyond.
Show me your heart. I know that it's beating. Tell me that you love me too. So I know your heart is true. 'Cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love.
Thank you for listening to Proof of Love. Please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Proof of Lovecast. More episodes can be found at proofoflovecast.com. And make sure you leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends. You are listening to Proof of Love with Tatiana Moroz, Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and Lauren Kasovitz. This show may contain adult content, language, and humor and is intended for mature audiences. If that's not you, please stop listening. Nothing you hear on Proof of Love is intended as financial advice, legal advice, therapy, or really anything other than entertainment. Please take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. Oh, and if you're hearing us on an affiliate network, the ideas and views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network that you're listening on, or of any of the sponsors or affiliate products that you may hear about on the show.